He followed the most famous man in the world into office, and almost everyone assumed he'd fail. John Adams became president anyway. What he didn't know yet was that his own cabinet, the men running his government, were secretly loyal to somebody else entirely. Within his first year, a foreign nation would demand a bribe just to speak with his diplomats. Adams refused, and the public found out. He'd spend his presidency fighting a war nobody declared, defying his own political party, and making the loneliest decision of his life. This is the story of a president who chose peace over popularity and paid for it with everything he had. In 1796, Adams won the presidency by just 3 electoral votes. His own vice president was Thomas Jefferson, his fiercest rival. Hamilton's cabinet allies kept him informed constantly, leaking strategy and undermining decisions before Adams had even made them public. On paper, Adams ran the entire executive branch. In practice, half of it quietly took its orders from a man with no official title at all. Timothy Pickering ran the State Department. Oliver Wolcott ran the Treasury. Both men answered to someone else in private. That someone was Alexander Hamilton, no longer in government at all, quietly directing Adams's own cabinet from the outside. Hamilton's allies inside the cabinet reported to him constantly, sharing private strategy, undermining decisions Adams hadn't even announced yet. Adams technically ran the executive branch. Unofficially, half of it was taking orders from a man holding no office whatsoever. He wouldn't fully realize the betrayal for years. By then, the damage to his presidency was already permanent and irreversible. John Adams was, in his own words, forced to govern with a cabinet he never actually chose for himself. France was furious. America had signed a treaty with Britain, and French ships began seizing American merchant vessels by the hundreds. Adams sent 3 diplomats to Paris, hoping for a peaceful resolution. What they found instead was deeply humiliating. French officials, later nicknamed XYZ in official reports, refused to even negotiate without a bribe first. The demand was blunt: pay first, talk later. American diplomats refused and sailed home in stunned disbelief. When Adams published the diplomats' reports to Congress, the public reaction was immediate, explosive, and completely unified. A popular slogan spread through American newspapers within days. "Millions for defense," they cried, but not 1 cent for tribute. Almost overnight, Adams became wildly popular. Crowds cheered him in the streets. War fever swept across the entire country. Hamilton and the Warhawks in his own party wanted to strike immediately, declaring full war against France without delay. Adams had genuine public support for war for the first time in his presidency. He chose, deliberately, not to use it yet. Instead of a declared war, America entered something stranger. Historians would later call it the quasi-war, fought entirely at sea. American and French ships exchanged real cannon fire across the Atlantic and Caribbean, despite no formal declaration ever being signed. Congress authorized a larger navy and army. Hamilton saw his opportunity and maneuvered hard for a powerful military command. Washington agreed to lead the new army only if Hamilton served as his second-in-command, actually running daily operations. Adams despised the arrangement instantly. He believed Hamilton wanted a permanent standing army for reasons beyond just France. Privately, Adams suspected Hamilton dreamed of using that army for far more ambitious, dangerous purposes than defense. The Navy, meanwhile, performed remarkably well. American frigates won real battles, and the merchant fleet gained crucial protection. But army recruitment barely worked as planned. Few actual soldiers ever showed up, since France had never truly invaded anyone. Adams found himself boxed in by his own party, expected to escalate a war that increasingly felt unnecessary and manufactured. The pressure to become a wartime president kept building. Adams kept privately searching for a way completely out of it. War fever wasn't just aimed at France. It also turned against anyone inside America who dared criticize Adams's own administration. In 1798, Congress passed 4 laws together, known collectively as the Alien and Sedition Acts. The Alien Acts let the president deport any foreigner deemed dangerous. No trial required, no evidence needed at all. The Sedition Act went even further. It criminalized publishing, quote, false, scandalous, and malicious writing against the government. In practice, it meant jail time for newspaper editors who simply criticized Adams or his Federalist Party. In print, roughly 24 people were arrested. Most were Democratic-Republican journalists, Adams's political opponents in the press. Jefferson and Madison responded furiously, secretly drafting resolutions in Virginia and Kentucky arguing states could ignore the law. This was an early and dangerous nullification argument, the idea that states could override federal law whenever they disagreed. Adams never personally pushed for the Sedition Act. He signed it anyway, and history would remember it as entirely his. By 1799, Adams received quiet signals that France actually wanted peace, not a wider, costlier war. His own cabinet and party wanted the opposite. They wanted war, an army, and Hamilton building permanent military power. Without asking his cabinet, without warning his own party, Adams made the single boldest decision of his presidency. He nominated a new peace envoy to France, announcing it to Congress before his own advisors even knew it was coming. His cabinet was reportedly stunned into silence. Hamilton was reportedly furious, blindsided completely by his own party's president. High Federalists accused Adams of betrayal, of surrendering to France just when total victory finally seemed within reach. Adams didn't care. He believed peace was worth more than his own political survival, and said so, repeatedly, in private. The peace mission succeeded. In 1800, America and France signed an agreement formally ending the quasi-war entirely. It was arguably Adams's greatest achievement as president. It also permanently, irreparably fractured his own political party. Hamilton retaliated by writing a blistering pamphlet attacking Adams's character, meant only for private Federalist circulation. The pamphlet leaked publicly anyway, handing Adams's opponents brutal ammunition right in the middle of an election year. Adams later called the peace mission the most disinterested act of his entire life. History has largely agreed with him. In the election of 1800, a divided Federalist Party couldn't compete. Adams lost decisively to his own vice president. He became the first American president in history to lose a re-election bid. A bitter, deeply personal defeat. In his final weeks, Adams filled judicial seats overnight, including one appointment that would outlast almost everyone involved. That appointment was John Marshall, future Chief Justice, whose rulings would shape America's courts for the next 30 years. Adams left Washington before dawn on Inauguration Day, skipping Jefferson's ceremony entirely, still bitter over how it ended. Years later, the two men reconciled through letters. Two old friends, finally agreeing that peace had been worth the cost.